1932. Harlem is bleeding. A white bootlegger from the Bronx named Arthur Flegenheimer, better known as Dutch Schultz, has turned his attention to the most profitable black-run enterprise in New York City, the numbers racket. The numbers game is simple. Pick 3 digits, place a bet with a runner. If your numbers hit, you win. The odds are long. The house always profits. And in Harlem in the 1930s, the house is black. This matters. White banks will not accept black customers. White investment firms will not take black money. So, Harlem builds its own financial system. Runners collect bets on every street corner. Comptrollers tally the figures. Bankers pay the winners and pocket the difference. Millions of dollars flow through the system every year. It is not legal, but it is the only game in town for a community locked out of every legitimate institution in America. At the top sits Stephanie St. Clair. They call her Madame Queen. She arrived from Guadeloupe in 1911 at the age of 13. By the late 1920s, she earns $200,000 a year. She employs 40 to 50 runners and 10 comptrollers. She lives in one of Harlem's most prestigious buildings, alongside W.E.B. Du Bois and a young lawyer named Thurgood Marshall. She wears exotic dresses and flowing furs. She takes out newspaper ads educating Harlem residents about their legal rights. She is brilliant, fearless, and completely unwilling to answer to anyone. Then, prohibition ends. The bootlegging money dries up. Dutch Schultz needs a new revenue stream. A Tammany Hall political boss named James J. Hines whispers in his ear. He tells him about the numbers. He tells him how much money is moving through Harlem every single day. Schultz sends his men in. He gives every black operator the same choice: hand over the business or pay him a percentage. Those who refuse are beaten, cut, shot. A black gunman named Bub Hewlett is hired to do the enforcing. Over 40 policy banks are reduced to 20. The runners disappear. The bankers retire. Harlem's financial system is being dismantled one broken bone at a time. Every operator surrenders. Every operator except one. Stephanie St. Clair refuses. She needs a weapon. She finds one. His name is Ellsworth Raymond Johnson. They call him Bumpy. Bumpy Johnson is born on October 31st, 1905, in Charleston, South Carolina. He gets his nickname from the bump on the back of his head. He gets his temperament from something deeper. When he is 10 years old, his older brother Willie is accused of killing a white man. In 1915, South Carolina, accusation is conviction. The family does not wait for a trial. They mortgage their tiny home to scrape together enough money to send Willie north before a lynch mob forms. Bumpy watches this happen. He watches his parents choose between their house and their son. He watches his brother disappear into the night. He is 10 years old, and he already understands what it means to be black in America. It means your life can be taken at any moment, and the only people who will protect you are your own. His parents worry about him. He has a short temper. He talks back to white people. In Charleston, that kind of behavior gets a black boy killed. In 1919, they send him to Harlem to live with his older sister Mabel. He is 14. Harlem is supposed to be safer. It is not easier. The local kids pick on him for his thick Southern accent, for the bump on his head, for his short stature. Bumpy does not absorb it. He fights every time. He fights until the other boys stop laughing. He fights until his name means something on the block. He drops out of high school. He works odd jobs. A gangster named William Hewitt notices him. He sees the fire in him. Hewitt puts him to work. Bumpy enters Harlem's underworld, the way most young men do, through the only door that is open. Then Stephanie St. Clair finds him. She is looking for a bodyguard. She is looking for an enforcer. She is looking for someone who is not afraid to die. Bumpy is all three. He rises fast. Within months, he is her most trusted soldier, her right hand, her blade. When Dutch Schultz moves on Harlem, St. Clair does not negotiate. She does not run. She declares war. She attacks the storefronts running Schultz's betting operations. She tips off the police about his activities. She testifies to the Seabury Commission about the kickbacks she has paid to corrupt officers. More than a dozen police are fired as a result. She is not just fighting Schultz, she is fighting the entire system that protects him. But newspapers and courtrooms cannot stop bullets. The real war is fought on the streets, and the streets belong to Bumpy. He assembles a crew, 9 men. That is all. 9 men against Dutch Schultz's entire operation, against the hired guns, the crooked cops, the political machine of Tammany Hall. The mathematics should be impossible. They are not. Bumpy's wife, Mamie Hatcher, will later describe it in her biography published in 2008. Bumpy and his crew of 9 wage a guerrilla war. Picking off Schultz's men is easy, she writes, because there are few other white men walking around Harlem during the day. This is the fatal flaw in Schultz's plan. He is sending white gunmen into a black neighborhood. They do not know the streets. They do not know the alleys. They do not know which rooftop gives a clear line of sight to which doorway. They walk through Harlem in broad daylight, and they might as well be wearing targets on their backs. Bumpy knows every block. His crew knows every corner. They grew up here. They know which buildings have back exits. They know which stoops are watched by which eyes. They know where to wait and where to disappear. Schultz's men start vanishing, one by one. A gunman sent to collect from a numbers banker does not come home. Another is found in an alley. Another disappears entirely. Schultz sends replacements. The replacements meet the same fate. The war produces over 40 murders and several kidnappings. The body count is staggering for a conflict fought between a 9-man crew and one of the most powerful criminal organizations in New York. But the numbers do not tell the whole story. It is an ambush that never ends. Schultz is fighting blind. His men cannot blend in. They cannot gather intelligence. They cannot move through the community without being seen, tracked, and reported. Every pair of eyes on every street is a lookout for Bumpy. Every grandmother sitting on a stoop, every child playing on a boardwalk. Harlem itself is the 10th member of the crew. Schultz throws more resources at the problem. More men, more money, more violence. None of it works. He controls the politicians. He controls the police. He controls every lever of institutional power in the city. But he cannot control 10 blocks of Harlem where 9 men have decided he does not belong. The war drags on. Months turn into years. Schultz's operation in Harlem becomes a bleeding wound. He is spending more to hold territory than the territory generates in profit. His men are afraid to walk the streets. His runners are afraid to collect bets. The empire he built through intimidation is crumbling because the one person he cannot intimidate is a woman from Guadalupe and her enforcer from Charleston. And then Schultz makes the mistake that ends everything. Not in Harlem, in a courtroom in Syracuse. Federal prosecutor Thomas Dewey is building a case. Tax evasion, racketeering, the same strategy that put Al Capone behind bars. Dewey is methodical, he is relentless, and he has Dutch Schultz in his sights. Schultz sees the walls closing in. He goes to the commission, the governing body of the American mafia, the council of bosses who arbitrate disputes and authorize killings. He asks for permission to murder Thomas Dewey. The commission says no. Killing a federal prosecutor would bring down heat on every crime family in America. It would be the end of business as usual. Lucky Luciano, the most powerful man in the room, makes the call. Dewey lives. Schultz does not accept the decision. He announces that he will kill Dewey anyway. He will do it with or without permission. The commission meets again. This time the agenda has one item: Dutch Schultz. Luciano gives the order. Murder Inc., the commission's personal hit squad, gets the assignment. October 23rd, 1935. The Palace Chop House, 12 East Park Street, Newark, New Jersey. Dutch Schultz is sitting in a back room with 3 associates. His accountant, Otto Berman, his enforcer, Abe Landau, his bodyguard, Bernard Lulu Rosenkrantz. 2 gunmen walk in. They open fire. Berman is killed. Landau is killed. Rosenkrantz is killed. Schultz is hit in the abdomen. He does not die immediately. He is rushed to Newark City Hospital. He drifts in and out of consciousness for 22 hours. His wife comes. His mother comes. A priest administers last rites. In Harlem, Stephanie St. Clair hears the news. She sends a telegram to the hospital. It reaches Schultz before he dies. 6 words. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Dutch Schultz dies of peritonitis on October 24, 1935. He is 33 years old. The question now is simple. Schultz is dead. His organization is shattered. Who controls Harlem? Lucky Luciano already has the answer. He did not order the hit on Schultz out of kindness. He ordered it because Schultz was a liability and because he wants what Schultz had. Luciano's organization, which will become the Genovese crime family, moves to fill the vacuum. But Luciano is smarter than Schultz. He does not send white gunmen into black neighborhoods. He does not try to take Harlem by force. He has seen what happens to men who try. Instead, he picks up the phone. He calls Bumpy Johnson. The deal is straightforward. Harlem's black operators keep their independence. They run their own numbers. They manage their own territory. They answer to Bumpy. In exchange, Luciano's crew gets a cut of the profits. It is not a perfect arrangement. Bumpy knows this. The community knows this. But it is negotiation from a position of strength. Bumpy Johnson is not surrendering. He is making a deal as an equal. A black man sitting across the table from the most powerful mafia boss in America and setting terms. Harlem accepts it. The war is over. No more bodies in alleys, no more gunmen on the corners. The numbers game continues. The money stays in the community. A percentage goes to Luciano, but the rest, the jobs, the infrastructure, the economic engine, remains black-owned and black-operated. Stephanie St. Clair passes her empire to Bumpy and steps away from the criminal world. She goes legitimate. She has fought her war. She has won what she can win. She spends her remaining years in relative obscurity. Some accounts say she dies in a Long Island psychiatric institution in 1969. Others say she dies at home, shortly before her 73rd birthday. Bumpy Johnson becomes the godfather of Harlem. He is not just a gangster. He is a community figure. He walks the streets of Harlem openly. He shakes hands. He settles disputes. He is known for his generosity, handing out money to families in need, paying for funerals, helping strangers with their rent. He reads voraciously. He writes poetry. He is, by every account, a complicated man who operates in a brutal world with a code that includes both violence and compassion. His criminal career catches up with him. In the 1950s, he is arrested for conspiring to sell heroin. He receives a 15-year sentence. He serves most of it at Alcatraz, the federal prison on an island in San Francisco Bay. The man who ruled Harlem sits in a cell surrounded by water, 3,000 miles from home. He is released in 1963. He returns to Harlem. The neighborhood has changed. The people have changed. But Bumpy is still Bumpy. He resumes his position. He walks the same streets. He sits in the same restaurants. On July 7, 1968, Bumpy Johnson suffers a heart attack at Wells Restaurant on 7th Avenue in Harlem. He is 62 years old. He dies in the neighborhood he fought for. He dies on streets his crew of 9 once defended with their lives. 9 men. That is what it took. 9 men against an empire built on money, politics, and violence. 9 men who knew every alley, every rooftop, every shadow in a neighborhood that outsiders could not navigate. Dutch Schultz had the politicians. He had the police. He had an army of enforcers and an unlimited supply of replacements. He had every advantage except the one that mattered. He did not have Harlem. Bumpy Johnson understood something that Schultz never could. Territory is not about who has the most guns. It is about who belongs there. Schultz's men were invaders. Bumpy's men were home. The numbers racket survived. The community survived. Harlem was not taken. Not by Dutch Schultz. Not by anyone who came after him. Stephanie St. Clair declared the war. Bumpy Johnson won it. 9 men held the line. And when it was over, the man from Charleston sat down with the most powerful mob boss in America and negotiated a peace on his own terms. That is not a gang story. That is a war story. And Harlem won.